Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome. Happy Saturday. And welcome to the very first instance of Morgan Tremaine Live, the program which future historians will refer to as the greatest, most significant entertainment news show of all time. Pause for applause. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing really well. I am just hanging out today. This is our first time of me trying to do like a scheduled live stream of like, this is what we're going to do every Saturday. And I have a few topics figured out. We're doing this right now live on Twitch and YouTube. I was going to do this live on TikTok as well, but they're always weird with their live stuff. Like my stream key is all of a sudden gone. So I got to reach out to my handler and see about that. But I have a few topics we're going to chat about. And then it's also going to be cut down for podcasts, so might as well. I'm trying to be realistic about the amount of content I can actually put out. So I'm trying to do like, I can at least do once a week. And like I said, this is recorded live, so if you're watching this later on, the whole thing's going to stay up on YouTube. The whole thing's going to be up on Twitch, and then we'll do cut downs for YouTube, cut downs for TikTok. So you can expect all of that to be happening. And hi everybody in YouTube chat, hi everybody in Twitch chat. Hope everybody's doing really, really well. You'd like to see me in the chat for the Hannah Gutierrez arrest trial? Yeah, I loved that. That was a really interesting case. I really enjoyed talking about that, learning about that. Her sentencing is coming up in a little bit, and of course, the reason I think a lot of people were super interested in it, and why I was particularly, is A, they were sort of like friends of a friend's, and it has a lot of implications for the industry, but also, we're talking about the Rust Armorer trial, by the way. That's what that was. But also, that was basically a dry run for our Alec Baldwin's trial, because it's going to be all the exact same witnesses. It's going to be all the same people who were there when it happened. It's going to be all the exact same people that were involved in the production, and I believe it's going to be the exact same prosecutor too, because it's the state bringing those charges. So that's going to be interesting when that happens in July. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be starting the day after my birthday. But we have a few topics we're going to talk about today, and then I have to head off to a wedding of two of my high school friends. Actually, I still have some friends from high school that I talked to, and these are two people that they like hung out in high school, never dated in high school, but then they ended up being together. Now they're getting married, which is pretty cool. So we're going to talk about a few big topics, most chiefly the TikTok ban, allegedly the forthcoming possible TikTok ban, which is, you know, the most preposterous thing in the absolute planet. So we can start talking about that right now. The House passed a TikTok ban bill. But is the app really a national security threat? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. It's really, really not. And this is one of the most frustrating things about this TikTok ban bill, is that, you know, if you watch my content, you remember when Mr. Chu, the CEO of TikTok, went in front of the Senate or that committee rather, and talked about how much they've done to make TikTok safer, to make it its own thing, separate from its parent company, that the servers are housed in the US. The vast amount of things that they've done to ensure security of Americans' data. Frankly, more than what I would say a lot of American billionaires who own social media companies have done, particularly Mark Zuckerberg. So the House of Representatives passed legislation on Wednesday giving TikTok two choices. They have to find a buyer for the immensely popular video app, or face a national-wide ban in the U.S. And this happens one of two ways, which we're going to get to. But basically, it's either they have to sell it, like ByteDance, the parent company, the Chinese company that has been the reason for this whole nonsense, or they have to risk it getting taken off of the app stores, because then it would be a national ban on it, which is, again, preposterous in my opinion. So President Biden also indicated that he would sign it into law, which sucks, but it's one of those things, like, it was so bipartisan, it makes sense that he would do that. However, it really is, he falls into the same kind of demographic, age-wise, as someone who would just categorically say TikTok bad and ban it. So he's being kind of part of the problem too. Luckily, it must first clear the Senate. So there's some hope there. And I know that in the Senate, there is more pushback than there is in the Congress. So hopefully there will be some interesting, you know, chats there, and there will be some measurable amount of pushback that can hopefully, I don't know, stay this. It's probably not, though, honestly. The biggest problem with this, though, is like let's say it doesn't get banned and they sell it, right? The only people that can sell it or can buy it or want to buy it are also fucking evil. So it's like, obviously, I mean, Zuck people are talking about, like, he has so much money, but I don't think he'd be able to do it because then it risks, you know, antitrust violations. However, some of the big names that have come up in the conversation about who can buy it are Bobby Kotick, which is the former CEO of Activision Blizzard, who was, you know, at the helm during a lot of really horrible stuff that happened there. And then he, instead of resigning in shame, grasped onto the company and said, I am not going anywhere until we sell to Microsoft and I get my giant bonus. And that's exactly what did happen. He held on and he's like, I'm getting my damn golden parachute. And he got it. And now the fruits of him having helmed that company and arguably buried a lot of the disgusting stuff that happened at Activision Blizzard, he is now going to celebrate that by possibly buying the biggest social media platform as far as like pop culture relevance is concerned. So that is upsetting. In addition to that, some of the other people that are that have been talking about getting it are Steve Mnuchin, who, if you recognize that name, was the former Secretary of the Treasury under Trump. He was an executive for a bank, and he is apparently has been on the phone getting tons of money together to possibly buy TikTok. Not happy about that. Not super duper thrilled. It's kind of gross. Arthur, and he wants to team up with OpenAI to buy TikTok. Yeah. Apparently, their OpenAI is one of the people looking to invest in this and make the sale happen. Again, not happy about any of this. Not super thrilled in any way, shape, or form. TikTok's owned by Beijing-based tech giant ByteDance, which views the House legislation as an existential threat, but not a novel attack, since the social media app has fended off numerous other attempts to put it out of business. So yeah, this is nothing new. However, I don't know how much they can do at this point, other than, again, try to fight it in the Senate. I don't know how much they're actually going to be able to get done there. I don't know if this is actually going to end up... I don't think it's actually going to get banned, first of all. Let me just say, I don't think it's going to get banned. I think ultimately this is going to, if anything, it'll get sold. And then for the average person, you're not going to see any change in the app whatsoever. For you, if you're not paying attention to any of this, the app is just going to, behind the scenes, change hands. Maybe it'll get a little weird for a little bit, but realistically, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think anything is going to get banned. I think if you are a normal viewer of TikTok, you will know that there is a ban in place. Like, people are talking about it in some capacity, but I think ultimately it's going to end up getting sold, or this won't happen. But most likely, I think it's going to have to get sold, and then it'll go to some asshole, and the average person will not notice any change whatsoever in the app and how it operates. Basically, thank you for the resub, Culiano Sauce and Moto on Twitch. Appreciate you. If the company cannot sell the app in time, it will become illegal for app stores and web hosting companies to offer TikTok, as long as it remains under the control of a foreign adversary. Remember, that was a sort of big thing when Mr. Chu was doing that hearing, was they were talking about, like, China is a foreign adversary, therefore it is a national security threat, is basically what they're trying to say. And of course, Nancy Pelosi did this very cringy clip. I'm not even going to play it, but she was basically like, she did like a tic-tac-toe thing. She was like, tic-tac-toe, it's a winner, because of how bipartisan the bill was. And it was gross. And I can just imagine that she was so proud of herself for coming up with this. Like, TikTok, tic-tac-toe. I can make this perfect metaphor that will make everyone in America understand why this is important. Nailed it. And of course, she is one of the people who is extremely invested in American social media platforms that would benefit ultimately from a TikTok ban, because those people would ultimately move to Instagram Reels, which is Meta, which she has millions of dollars in. So, that's not a problem, of course. That's not a problem in any way. Yeah, it is boomer behavior of the highest order. It's horrific. So this is what we're dealing with. Yeah, what will the House bill mean for TikTok users? We know about that. Who could buy ByteDance? We've talked about that. There's plenty of tech companies that could do it. They could possibly face antitrust laws, issues. However, I don't imagine there would be much resistance there for the reasons we have just stated. So TikTok ban is dumb. I fully believe it does not constitute a national security threat because we have seen what American billionaires do with our data. Frankly, I think China could do a lot less. We're dealing with domestic issues involving our data. So I think it's frankly preposterous. And obviously we have seen, not to get too political, but election interference coming from Russia via social media. I can't speak to Chinese involvement. However, we are also seeing a lot of threats to the democratic process happening domestically. So it's like, again, we don't want to deal with any of that, but China, it's just so easy to categorically get everybody behind, well, China bad. And it's frankly political pandering to a naive general populace. That's how I feel about it. And I think it's safe to say that. Darkly Eve on Twitch, Zuckerberg is way worse than TikTok. I agree. And actually, one of the things that's making me really uncomfortable, if you've seen Zuckerberg recently, like if you saw him back when he was being grilled by, I think, also the House of Representatives, he looked very much like a robot. He's always looked like a robot. If you've seen him more recently, he grew his hair out. He's dressing a little cooler. His face is a little more expressive. He seems like a little more human. It has that feeling of like the singularity, like the AI has become human. It's making me feel really uncomfortable. But yeah, the currency of the realm nowadays is data. This is nothing new. And if it's not in the hands of this company that is owned by a Chinese company, then it's going to be owned by Meta, probably, or a collection of investors who are ultimately going to be investing in it for evil, for the back end, real money that is your data, that is all of that information. And again, one of the reasons that I think Steve Mnuchin wants to partner with OpenAI to buy this is because the biggest value, in addition to just our data, generally speaking, is it's our data in order to train AI models. It's one of those things like we have the AI of the past in its infancy has been trained. It was able to come back after it kind of died off in the 80s, which yes, it's been going on for a very long time, neural nets and stuff. But it was able to come back because of the immense amount of data that's available through Google, through YouTube. There is all of that data in which to train neural nets to be better. And so now we have repositories of information that are incomprehensible. And so if you're able to access all of that information, especially if it's the information, habits, buying habits, searching habits, viewing habits in general of a younger demographic, the people who are going to be buying more stuff or shaping the future, so to speak, that is the most valuable information to broker in. And so that's, I think, what the biggest attraction is for people who want to be invested in TikTok. There is no good person who wants to get TikTok so they can just be like, hey, I have the coolest social media platform. It's all people who explicitly want it for evil. So yeah, it is upsetting. It is also, unfortunately, like this has been pioneered by the Conservative Party of the United States. Again, not to get too political, but this is a political issue. They've made it political. If you take a big step back, this is the definition of government overreach. This is the kind of big government interfering in business that the Conservative Party has been rallying against forever. But because this can ultimately benefit American business, they're sort of pretending like this isn't an overreach and this doesn't open some kind of floodgate for the government to shut down any company at once for seemingly having connections to a foreign adversary. It is a slippery slope. It is one that the very few younger people, including AOC, have said, have expressed, and it's fallen on deaf ears because of the, like I just said, the small number of people who are of a certain demographic in the United States government and have a voice. So ultimately, there's probably no slowing this down, but it is upsetting. It is upsetting. Darkly Eve, there's no way this entire ban is to protect our data. It has to be a guise for public perception. It's not even that. Again, there's so many things. It could be monetary. It could for people who own a lot of stock, because this will a ban on it would ultimately benefit Meta. It could be politically motivated because it's an easy thing to get behind, because most of them, I can imagine a lot of Midwestern voters being like, China bad, TikTok bad. So it's that simple. It's not a complicated calculus to wrap your head around. And then people could be behind this for the right reasons. The right reasons being the protection of Americans, but ultimately just don't understand that it's not a national security threat, don't understand why or how, and just are not digging deep enough into it. And it's the same people who have looked the other way and pretended like they didn't understand or hear anything that Mr. Chu said in that hearing. Where every time Mr. Chu tried to make a good point, they were like, he was like, no, but you don't understand. And they're like, I reclaim my time. And that's basically how it all went. Anyways, that's my whole rant about that. It is super upsetting. And I think ultimately we're going to get screwed because of it. That's my rant. That's my rant. What do you guys think, though? What do you guys think? Let me take some questions on this stuff. What do you think of the Universal Music standoff with the app? I think the music industry is imploding on itself. And I think the music industry as it has existed is basically no more. It has become a lot more democratic because of the more organic ways that an artist can gain relevancy, and even when they gain relevancy, to not have to buy into the system of the music industry anymore. That being said, these social media platforms like TikTok especially, it's also a really good chance to it's a promotional tool to get music out there, and it's also a really great way if the music industry wants to put out industry plants. I think it's probably the best route for that. So I think they've really shot themselves in the foot by pulling music off of that, and it would be in the best interest of the music label, I think, to come up to some kind of agreement, because ultimately it does benefit the music industry, especially if they were able to come up with some kind of more direct path for signing through TikTok. Like, I think about the creator marketplace on TikTok, which I love. I've made money off that marketplace, where you get hooked up with brands to do deals very, very easily through that app. If they had something like that with the music industry, like a really good path for like signing or distribution within the app, I mean, it would be gross and evil, and I wouldn't like it. But I don't know why they don't want to explore something like that. There's exploitability to be had there, and it's not like the music industry to say no to exploiting people. So I think it goes against conventional wisdom of the music industry, but such it is, such is life. You're DJ on TikTok, you're in agreement with everything about TikTok. Someone pointed out that there's no middle ground of people rising up to be stars. Yeah, definitely. I kind of agree with that. Anyways, there's a few other things we could talk about. There was a Gina Carano interview on the Hollywood Reporter about being canceled, and there's a lot of pullout quotes about people were quick to judge, and they don't respect other people, and it says Gina Carano, famous respecter of others. So it's just like her crying for getting a bit of her own medicine, and frankly, she can go fuck herself. I'm not even sure I want to read the article. I opened it up and I'm like, it's all going to be dumb. And it's a lot of politicizing. She's trying to politicize this issue, and I think trying to get public opinion on her side in order to sort of get her life back. And, I don't blame her for doing that. It's just, she had so many chances to get her job, to keep her job, and said no to all of them. Then they were like, fine, you have forced our hand at this point because we're a publicly traded company. We have to do this. And frankly, I see no reason for Disney to come back to this. Triba Juice on TikTok or on Twitch, Giga Chad Draco Malfoy. That is such a compliment. Thank you. I posted a photo of myself yesterday, and I got probably 100 different Spike from Buffy comparisons, which I'm not mad about either. If they do a Buffy remake, I am available. I am very available. But yeah, I'm not seeing any pullout quotes from this thing that I really even want to talk about. I just laid down and cried and cried. I curled in a fetal position. It's like, well, Maybe you should have done any of the 50 things that Disney, taken any of the 50 chances that Disney gave you to keep your job. But you chose to, in your mind, stand on business, and it is what it is. So, you know, you did this. That's all I can say about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, too, I'm just going to move on from that because I frankly don't care about her anymore. I'm curious of the legal action and if anything comes of that, but realistically, she's just crying, and it's a pain in the ass. There's a couple other things. Did you guys see the trailer for The Crow? I'm not going to play it on here because YouTube will get mad, but I highly recommend watching the trailer for The Crow. It has the Skarsgård brother from It, and honestly, it looks pretty good. You have to divorce yourself from the music in it because it does the like the trailer thing. It sounds like the Suicide Squad trailers. You know what I mean? Where they use kind of like a hip hoppy, like industrial-ish kind of track, but it's still it felt the music made it feel like Jared Leto Joker, which really bummed me out. However, it's like The Crow is kind of like almost what that Joker was trying to be. I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought here, but basically the Crow trailer looks pretty good. It looks super gothy and fun. They didn't need to remake it, no, but I do like the Skarsgård brother doing it, I think, more than I would have liked seeing Jason Momoa doing it when that was allegedly a thing. I think he was vaguely in talks, and then it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. I think he is like old school rocker, whereas the Skarsgård brother, it's Alexander Skarsgård, right? No, I forget which one it is. Anyways, but he's more like the current era of emo, e-boy, scene kid thing that is coming back up right now. So I think we can expect Bill Skarsgård. Thank you. I think we're seeing a lot of a resurgence of the hot topic of yesteryear, of when I grew up, and this better aligns with that. So I think it makes a lot more sense for him to be doing it. I think they're nailing it. It looks fun. It looks like a pretty serious, bloody action movie, and I'm here for it. And you know, it's one of those things, like, it's all about love, and you know, to a certain extent, but also, you know, it's fine because that's what The Crow's about. It's fine. It is what it is. Also, was trying to figure out a name for horror romance movies, like rom-coms, and I was saying horror rom, but then that sounds like porn on like a floppy disk. So I think that's probably not the right word for it. I don't have a good word for it, but I would like to see romance horror become maybe a more popular genre. That sounds like kind of fun, right? That is the essence of Hot Topic in my mind. So I have some stories about, I knew Hot Topic's head of marketing at one point, their chief marketing executive. And I have some stories. Their marketing of yesteryear was pretty gross. The directives that they would be giving were really gross. Arthur, is that a romantic relationship with a stalker? Yeah, basically. Ramor? Darkly Eve? I don't think that's right. Carla on YouTube, you'll have to check out that trailer. It feels a little bit eerie post Hannah Gutierrez's trial. Do you think that the trial in the upcoming Baldwin trial will change safety protocols on movie sets? I think it's unlikely that it'll change. I think things would have already been in motion if they were going to change, unfortunately. It's unfortunate that I haven't seen more movement already, that there hasn't been formal like restrictions requirements put on armors union wise, but such is life, I guess. It just isn't what it is. I don't think it feels eerie post the Hannah Gutierrez trial. I mean, it's like it's been long enough since The Crow happened, and the movie's still released, and it's a beloved movie. And that, honestly, like say what you will about the Rust shooting, but the Crow one, that is like the definition of a freak accident. And I think that's why nobody was charged in that one. And again, this is something I've talked about before when we talk about the Rust thing. But I don't feel eerie. It has been many, many, many years. I don't have a weird, gross feeling when I think about The Crow and see this trailer. It also does feel very much like its own thing. Crispy, the TikTok ban bill will stall in the Senate. I hope so. I really hope so. But, you know, I don't know for sure. I really don't know for sure. Yeah, it was 30 years. 30 years. I was trying not to say 30 years because it feels gross to me that it was that long ago, and it ages me. but that's okay. That's okay. There's one other topic I wanted to bring up specifically, which is Gamergate 2. I just quickly, there's gonna be a pop-up, and I'm not gonna be able to read this, but yeah, see, I don't want to read more with unlimited access wire. Just let me read this damn thing. Anyways, there's Gamergate 2 is going on, which basically, I'm gonna go super high level with this to try to explain it. Super, super, super high level. It is essentially the thought that like video games are too woke now and shouldn't be political in any way. And of course, this is something that I think Elon Musk was bringing it up. He said video games aren't woke. That's not why people play video games, while retweeting a clip from one of those a-holes on the Daily Wire. Never a good start for an opinion on anything. Because Daily Wire, those people are just pandering. It's like Fox News, where it's parody. It is literally parody. So then people who don't understand that will glob onto those opinions and make it their whole goddamn personality. And that is, I think, what's happening. And then, of course, Boogie is the YouTuber, has gotten sort of involved in this too. And the general crux of the argument is that video games should not be woke anymore. And of course, woke being a word that only the Conservative Party uses, because it used to mean sort of enlightened and understanding of other people's values, and now it's been co-opted to mean this is something that is telling me something I don't believe and is infringing on my First Amendment rights to be a bigot. That is essentially what it means nowadays. So my response to that is, I look at the demographic of the people complaining about video games being too woke, and I think ultimately those people are of the arcade generation. Yeah, like sure, Galaga has no political meaning behind it. The original Mario, probably nothing there. I don't know. Donkey Kong, probably nothing there. I don't know. But you got to remember, like, video games are one of the youngest art forms we have, period. Movies are pretty young. They're about 100 years old. Painting goes back further. Music goes back further, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all different mediums of art. So I think what the biggest problem is that these people are looking at video games as a form of entertainment, as something mechanical, and not as a form of art. But frankly, it has exploded and gotten to a point where, in my opinion, video games are the greatest art form imaginable. If you have a story idea, you have to look like, is this story going to be a better book, movie, TV show, or video game? You have to look at those different portals, and I think a lot of times video games is the best way to experience that, because it is interactive. It is so wildly interactive. It is the only real interactive medium. And we have gotten to a point in narrative game making where it is artful. I think about games like Last of Us, Uncharted. These are art. I'm playing Jedi Survivor right now, slowly. That is art. And in art, I think one of the main things that makes it an art form is it's going to elicit some kind of emotional response. It is going to make you think more about more than the surface level of what the thing is. That is the whole point of movies. There's no movie that doesn't have a theme. It might be buried, it might not be translated well to the screen, but they all have themes. If you watch a big movie about 20 minutes into it, someone's always going to state the theme. The first Star Trek, I always think about. 20 minutes into the movie, Spock's dad in a flashback tells young Spock, "You are completely in charge of your own destiny." That is what the entire movie is about, with all the time travel, changing their timeline. It is them taking charge of their own destiny. That is what the entire movie is about. Entire movie. And that exists in books. It exists in a lot of songwriting. It exists in many things. It is meant to elicit an emotional response and make you think about something. And video games have reached that point. Now, that does not mean that you have to agree with what it's saying. And that is, I think, the point of this whole video game argument. It's like, if you don't like what the video game's saying, no one's making you play it. No one's forcing it down your throat and making you play this game that might be respecting other people's opinions or worldviews, which again is to make it more accessible to the broader audience. Because again, I would say that these conservative people that are saying, oh, this is too woke, represent a very vocal minority. And I think, frankly, the vast majority of people do not care. Do not care. They don't care if there's pronoun options in the game. They don't care if there's options to mix genders in a game. They don't care about any of that. They are capable of ignoring it. And that is the definition of tolerance, the thing that we have been aspiring to since ever and have been greatly failing at for the most part. But I think it is tolerance. You just have to tolerate it. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to tolerate it. And it's up to you if you don't want to use your dollars to support this kind of thing. Nobody's making you play that video game. Just don't do it. The thing, ultimately, we are living in a world of tolerance, and these products are meant for everybody, and they're going to appeal to the general audience, and the general audience does not care, and it means so much more to the people that is speaking to than it is ever going to mean to the people who are mad that it's in it. It is a net positive, and it speaks to the values of these companies, which is great. And you know what? Alex Jones made a video game, and you can go play that if you want. It looks pretty fun, so enjoy that. That one is all yours. All yours, kiddo. Go for it. All yours. Arthur, both from a standpoint of written experiences as well as emergent ones, not programmed by the creators. Yeah. Not made for everybody, but also made by everybody. Yeah. Absolutely. Unfortunately, they are allowed vocal minority. Carla on YouTube says, I'm sick of it as well. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. If you want to suddenly have a big following right now, all you have to do is be one of those people who says the quiet part out loud, air quotes, because it is the thing that, assholes are going to glob onto, and then people who are especially combative about the opposite feelings of it, it's going to create engagement, and engagement equals money. It would be the easiest thing to do in the world is to be that kind of contrarian, is to be the Fox News type person, to be the Daily Wire type person. Is the easiest way to make money and to gain a following. You just have to, be a sociopath, and then you're good to go. Laura on YouTube, you're tolerant, but not when someone forces you to have the same woke opinion. Who is forcing you? Who is forcing you on this? Who is grabbing you by the face and saying, accept our views, damn you? Like, there are people who will argue about your opinions of it, but that's what you have to deal with when you have an opinion. But we're talking about it in the form of art. And in art, no one's making you stare at the painting. No one's making you watch that movie. No one's making you watch that TV show. No one's making you play this video game. There's no one forcing you. You have choices, and that is your First Amendment right, is to consume whatever you want and not play that video game. So pay money to what you support. That is your right, but no one is making you play these video games. And I really don't understand why people think that video games are woke. I guess I can see some of those things like I listed, like pronouns being in a game and stuff like that. But it's like, welcome to the fucking world we live in. And skip that option if you want. You don't want to mix match genitals in a character creator? Fine, then don't. You have the option to. But to get mad about it, what a waste of your life force. What a waste of time and effort. And it must be exhausting. It must be just exhausting to live your life like that. You must go to bed mad every night, and I just don't understand it. I really, really don't. Darkly Eve on Twitch. It's literally the same thing with any other type of media. If you don't like it, then it just wasn't made for you. Exactly, yeah. There's plenty of people who you see a movie and you're like, I don't like that. I don't want to deal with it. It is what it is. You will not buy that game that forced you to put your pronouns on it, Laura B on YouTube. Then don't. That's fine. But to say video games are too woke categorically, to the fact that you're mad about it reflects the fact that it is so commonplace that it is something that you can't ignore. It is the world that we live in, and there are going to be certain things in media, in art, in our lives that are going to reflect those people's lives and give those people options. And it's you have the ability to ignore it. That's it. And to try to tell other people how to live their lives, it's like I'm not trying to be that kind of person either. I don't want to tell people how to live their lives. As long as you're doing something that isn't dangerous or hurting others, then great. But honestly, to say that there shouldn't be alternative lifestyle options in video games like that is to completely deny the world that we're living in. And you can have blinders on, but that's on you. It really is. I think that's all I have to say on that. That is my Gamergate 2 spiel. Pause for questions, comments. We can chit chat now. In a free society, you have a choice to not engage 100%. And we live in that kind of society. Yeah. There's not one kind of movie. There's plenty. And again, I think it's only $7. Feel free to buy Alex Jones's video game. Feel free. Know that he's a grifter and he's pandering to you for that $7. And those are the kind of people that are on your side. If you feel this certain way about wokeness, you know, your thought leaders are pandering to you and trying to sell you supplements. Because those opinions are a joke. They're a joke. Fox News, Tucker Carlson managed to get out of a lawsuit by successfully arguing that his show was parody, and no one in their right mind would ever take it seriously. Those are the thought leaders of conservatism at the moment. So think about that. Just take a step back and just think about that and your place in the world. That's darkly. That's exactly what they're doing, though. They want to deny the existence of the pronouns for one example. Yeah, it's okay. Those people are gonna die one day, and we'll live in our world, free of them. Although, unfortunately, things like Twitter right now are kind of fanning the flames of some very gross opinions. So I don't know if those people are going to go away, or if it's just going to get weirder and more radicalized. But we'll deal with that when we get there. Arthur, it's one of those things that, from the programmer standpoint, is very easy to implement and does bring inclusion and tolerance to a big group of people. So a lot of music for a little money. I agree completely. It is extremely low effort and means a lot to people that are struggling to live in that kind of world. There are people that are denied their existence, deny their lifestyle. It means a lot to those people, and all you have to do is ignore it, or choose he, him, she, her. That's all you got to do. Not that complicated. Not that complicated. But anyways, that is, again, not to talk too specifically about Gamergate 2, but that is the high level, as I understand it. That is the high level argument for what's going on right now. High level. Carl, am I still considering a law career? Yeah, I've been doing some work with Law and Crime Network though, and the more I work there and the more I talk to lawyers, the more I realize that they're just Googling it when I ask them questions. So I don't know if I actually need a law degree. I feel like I've been able to answer a lot of my own questions. So I'm thinking more about that. I'm like, I don't know if I need to get in debt. I don't know. And it's definitely one of those jobs that's also being rapidly replaced by AI, by chatbots. And the only reason they're not getting replaced is to argue in a courtroom, which is not something I want to do. But yeah, I find it interesting. I've been learning a lot on my own, and I will continue to do so. From your knowledge, only 2 games with pronoun options. Maybe you know of more. I mean, I think there's a lot of games that have various options, and then there's various games that have various themes, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, again, it's just the at the moment fashionable thing to complain about for engagement. I don't really think like Boogie the YouTuber, like right now he's kind of jumping on that train. But again, I think it's because he's got YouTuber brain and it's about engagement. I don't even know if he really believes this stuff. It's just for engagement. It's bait. It's bait. And a lot of you guys are taking it. It's just bait. That's all it is. You know. Anywho, it's been about 40. It's been almost an hour-ish. I think we've been talking about 45 minutes. I'm going to actually wrap this up early because I wanted to do this as sort of a test. So now we have a few topics we can cut down for YouTube. This whole thing's going to go on up as a podcast now. I have to put that first episode up so it's available. And yeah, I want to do this every Saturday, but I have to go to this wedding. Also, if anybody knows any artists, I want like intro music. I need some intro music for this thing or something for the podcast and all that. But anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. And we're gonna keep doing this. I'm talking to my TikTok rep so we can do this on TikTok as well. But it will be on every Saturday from now on, tentatively. It's gonna be live on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and then go up as a podcast on Spotify. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, I have a handler at TikTok, so I am gonna talk to. Thank you, DJ, though. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you on the flippy floppy. Bye, everybody.